Good morning, Siam! And today we are going to a place called Ayutthaya, the original capital of the biggest empire of Thailand. First, some prehistory. The oldest evidence of humans being here in the area that is Thailand is like 40,000 years ago. Oh, we're coming in to pick up friends. The history of Thailand is really influenced by India. And get this, the Indian king's name who sent these people on the mission was Ashoka. Like the Jedi, sent a Buddhist mission to Thailand, which is part of where that Buddhist influence came from.
It's not all Tao yet, but this is mine.
This is your monk. The Hindu monks, the Hindu priests called Brahmins, they also came, which helped influence this hybrid of Buddhism and Hinduism that exists. But even more so, Sri Lanka, little tiny island nation of Sri Lanka, is very, 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 very old and very, very Buddhist. And then third, the influence is migrants from China. One more prehistory thing about Thailand, Sanskrit. That's where the Thai language originates from. But really, the first identification of being Thai is with this civilization that popped up in the mid-13th century. So around the same time as the Knights Templar and the Crusades. The Sukhothai kingdom. And that's really where the word Thai came from, which Thai translates to actually mean free. But this Sukhothai civilization only lasted about 100 years. 13th century to the mid 14th century. And in the mid 14th century, that is when Ayutthaya. We are now in the official old city. It was constructed in the mid 14th century, about the same time that Europe was moving out of the Middle Ages and into the Renaissance. And this represents a very, very powerful nation in this time frame. And they lasted for like 400 years until about the same time as the United States was created. So in that time of major revolution across the world, the Ayutthayan nation fell, and the new dynasty, the dynasty that still exists in Thailand today, came about within 1 year of the United States being formed. The Portuguese, the French, the Dutch, the English, all traded with this nation as the age of discovery really came about. And the first Thai people to go to Europe was a delegation to King Louis XIV's court. You know King Louis XIV, the Sun King, the big famous guy who built Versailles. There was a multiculturalism that took place. The guard for the king was a Japanese guard. Priests from the Vatican also came here, particularly the French Jesuits. Following you, my love. The Muslims that came were of Persian descent, and they incorporated into the Thai society and eventually the royals here. You can see the char. This city was rampaged and burned and eventually destroyed this kingdom. But a general escaped from the city and eventually formed a new empire, which lasted very short because this general was then overthrown, and who took over? Rama I, and built what, at least to us Westerners, was called Siam, or Siamese. You've heard of the Siamese cat? It's from Thailand. Oddly, the most famous Thai people or persons is Chang and Eng, the first Siamese twin to go on the circus tour throughout Britain and the United States. He probably knew Barnum. They were the Siamese twins that made the Siamese twins so famous. And by the way, Siam actually means brown in Sanskrit. I'll leave that right there. He is Rama IV. He was the monk king. He spent 26 years of his life as a monk in the temple. And he's famous for the King and I, which is based on a real story from a British woman born in India who ended up staying in his court, Rama IV. He had a Catholic priest come stay with him, preach to his fellow monks, and his famous statement, "What you teach people to do is admirable. What you teach them to believe is foolish." Rama IV, finally, was the first king in the height of colonialism to really have Westerners in his court and really start having to deal with the imperialist powers. And truth is that Thailand is the only Southeast Asian country that was never occupied by a colonial power. The structure behind us, built in the late Ayutthayan period.
1630 by King Prasatha to honor his mother.
This king built it for his mother. Hi, Mom. So Rama V, who was long after this, he came to power just after the American Civil War, and part of his reforms, he got rid of slavery. The American Civil War being famous for its bloodshed. He went about it a pretty different way. He did it gradually. People could enslave themselves. If they were poor, they sold themselves to their master, or if they were in debt, they got out of debt by becoming slaves. He established courts. He built the railroads to connect the country so he could rule the country. But it also took a country that really to this point was a collection of city-states and made it actually really a nation. Oh, he has a great name too, Chulalongkorn. And finally, when World War I came about, he joined the Allies and built a modern military. So our last Ayutthaya site of the day, but we're gonna jump ahead in the timeline to our last segment of history for the day, the modern era. Well, this modern era starts in the late 20s, 1920s. All is well in the world, especially, you know, in places like where I'm from, the United States, where we're just doing the swing dances and everything's okay and the stock market's booming. And this guy is born in Boston in 1927. And this guy is the only king ever born in the continental United States, and he is Rama IX, the previous king of Thailand. He was born in Cambridge because his dad was going to Harvard. But of course, the world descended into chaos a few years after that. Thailand descended into chaos. After 150 years of absolute rule, it all fell apart and political chaos ensued. Throughout this guy named Preeti, he tried to bring about reforms in the 1930s. That went well, then it didn't go well, then this other guy who became dictator, and then to add to more of this intrigue, Rama VIII is the brother of Rama IX. Rama VIII eventually came to be king, but he was not king very long because he was mysteriously shot. And this Preeti guy was blamed in some ways, but they actually executed 2 guards. It's still unsolved to this day. Nobody really knows. All that's to say, this modern history has led to a series of military dictatorships, a series of coup d'etat. I mean, like 3 coup d'etat, I guess, in this century, in the 21st century. Nonetheless, Rama IX became king. He was king for a very long time. We have the 3 longest monarchs in history. Louis XIV, Queen Elizabeth II, who just died, and Rama IX. And here we are, back in time. In time, out of time. What time is it? And Rama X, who is the current king of Thailand, has become king. Rama I wasn't even alive when this was built. Okay, people, this is Ayutthaya, just to be clear, and that is Suttaya. Our tour is done. Thank you very much. Kap kun kap. Ciao, y'all. Stay peaceful. Stay free. Or something. Or just give up your suffering and your desire